Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to KGX to the Z TV here with the Manchester City Chelsea breakdown. Manchester City 2, Chelsea 0. Not the best start for us, but also not the worst start, but we'll get into it. So first, let's start with the lineups. Chelsea, as expected, sort of a 4-3-3. Some big calls by Maresca. No Sterling in the squad. No Madueke out wide right. No Mudryk. So we had a back four we had Sanchez in goal. Left back Cucurella. Left center back was Colwell. Right center back Fofana. Right back Gusto. Midfield three of Enzo, Caicedo, Lavia. Then the front attacking three from left to right and Cuckoo, Jackson, and Palmer. City went with their back four of Gvardiol left back, Diaz and Akanji as the center backs, Rico Lewis right back, and then midfield of Bernardo Silva, Kovacic, De Bruyne, with their attacking three being started out initially with Savio on the left, Erling Haaland up top, and then Doku on the right. Later on, Pep switched that, put Doku on the left, Savio on the right, especially after he realized that neither one of those wingers, Savio or Doku, was getting the better of our fullbacks until they switched. But we'll get into that. So start the game. It's pretty calm for us, considering how our preseason went in terms of defensive mistakes leading to punishing goals from the opposition team in terms of when we turn the ball over, we give it to them, they're right on us inside our box, capitalizing off our mistakes. And to our credit, we were fairly calm in the beginning. First 10 minutes was sort of a back and forth, but in the sense of just feeling each other out. It looked like both teams were kind of playing it a little bit cautious. And when I say teams, I mean from the tactical managerial approach, right? Neither Pep nor Maresca really went after it, right? And that's kind of true to Pep's early season sort of approach. Maresca obviously doesn't have the experience of Pep, so we're kind of waiting to see and figure out what we're going to get from him in terms of how we start matches. Are we going to start trying to be on the front foot, or are we going to try to just kind of soak up pressure a little bit and kind of play our way and feel our way into the game? A little bit interesting at first was City definitely let us kind of keep and control the ball. They can kind of conceded possession, and I think overall, I think that the stats will probably show that we had more possession. But in the beginning part, kind of felt our way into it. Like I said, Doku on the right originally, going up against Cucurella, and then on the left, Savinho getting his first taste of the Premier League, going up on the left against Gusto. Really, the matchups were kind of dead even at first and then outside, fullbacks versus their wingers, and things were just kind of contested very much sort of in the middle of the park with Caicedo and Lavia sort of sitting deep for us and sort of dictating play a little bit from the back, kind of breaking things up, but really just the main focus looked like they were just shielding our back line, right? We know our back line and the deficiencies that we've kind of shown in preseason. So understandable that Maresca wanted to just kind of, get those screeners in there, get those protectors in there to make sure that we didn't concede a goal early. And to our credit, first 10, 15 minutes, everything was sort of calm. We had a couple chances. We would break through their lines, break through their press. City wasn't pressing as aggressively as they have been in the past. They sort of were set up to kind of have their triggers, right? So once we kind of advanced it past our center backs, Colwell and Fofana had some time on the ball. Once they kind of got the ball into the midfield, especially with Lavia and Caicedo, they were sort of right on top of them as expected, with their high press in that regard. Thought Lavia played very well today. Did a very good job of sort of screening, receiving a pass on the half turn, beating a man, and just playing it very, very calm. No loose giveaways. Same with Caicedo, right? Caicedo, you don't expect that as much because he's just not as fleet of foot or as nimble or as tidy in terms of on the ball as Lavia. But those two overall today, I thought played fairly well. Lavia being probably our best player on there. But then, about 17, 18 minutes in, we let City build up on our left-hand side. They pass it out wide. I think it's to Doku. We have they have I think Kevin De Bruyne, who is kind of running into the half space. So he's attracting gusto inside, and then our right wing Palmer is a little bit behind the play because he gets beat out by the pass to Doku. So Doku's allowed to just take the ball up the sidelines. He cuts in. He plays a pass. It breaks our lines. It gets deflected. Maybe you can say Bernardo Silva got a touch on it intentionally, but it falls to the one person in the world in the box you don't want it to fall to, and it falls to Erling Haaland, and he has the strength, the composure to hold off not only Colwell, who was kind of caught in no man's land in between, but again, to his credit, and he didn't play bad by any means, but to his credit, he was sort of cut out a little bit by the deflection and maybe the little flick on by Silva, and then Cucurella comes late, tries to go shoulder for shoulder with him, but despite all the Paella songs and songs that Cucurella was singing over the summer, you're not going to shoulder barge Erling Haaland off the ball, and he slots it back home. 1-0 City, and we're behind again, but unlike preseason, we didn't capitulate. We didn't panic. We didn't quickly concede a second goal. I know Maresca had talked about that, right? He said when you concede a goal, you want to kind of set up shop and kind of close the floodgates so you don't concede that second goal. And we did that. We soaked up a lot of pressure, and we also had some excellent opportunities. We broke on them. We got the ball in the back of the net, but Jackson was offside. You could say he should do better in that situation, and I wouldn't really argue with you. He was looking straight down the line on the deflected shot, which Ederson parried, and to City's kind of, I wouldn't say credit, but Ederson looked very shaky today with his hands. He cross collection was poor. He would get to the crosses, but just he wouldn't control them. A couple of shots he parried, or he just wasn't able to corral. And we did a pretty good job of crashing the box in that regard. But when you see a keeper like that and it's sort of going through it, and you do it once or twice and you make those kind of mistakes, it gets into their minds, and you should just be peppering his box with shots, right? Long range shots. We know Palmer's got a good shot on him. We know Nkuku's got a good shot on him. Jackson, not so much. Enzo, not so much. Lavia and Caicedo, not too big of goal threats, but we definitely should have taken advantage of what seemed like a little bit of dip of confidence when it comes to catching the ball with Ederson. But we got into halftime down one, which was good. Like I said, we had the ball in the back of the net with Jackson, ruled offside. It's tight, but definitely offside. And then we came out second half, controlled it a little bit. I thought we did a very good job today overall in our lines in terms of being compact. And especially defensively, right? We saw we were susceptible because we weren't getting pressure in the wide areas, and folks were able to make huge switches, which a couple times they did, and you're always going to give it up. City gives up a lot of the same, and we did we had some very nice switches, especially from Palmer out to Nkuku. Nkuku had a couple where he controlled one, he headed it down, and then it fell to Enzo in the box, whose shot was blocked by I think Akanji. So, we had some opportunities to hit them kind of with quick switches just like they did. And think that's just a byproduct of how both teams play and the similarities in approach. I would definitely won't say execution because City is on a much higher level, which they proved today. But you could see that some of the characteristics of a Pep squad are going to manifest themselves into what we hope is a well-defined system for Maresca. So we saw that, and then, like I said, had some chances. Jackson had a very nice. He did very well to get on the end of kind of a little melee in the box. I think they headed it out. Lavia headed it back in. Ederson was rooted to his spot again, and then Jackson tried like a little bit of an audacious overhead kick, which was the only way he could get a foot on the ball, and then it ends up going right in the path of Ederson, who parries it out, and then I don't think Jackson could get to the rebound, and we end up winning a corner. So not much you could do if you're Jackson in that. The only thing you could do really is just get good contact on the ball, which he did, and then just hope that the ball finds its way into the back of the net. So yeah, we had some chances, and then similar to the goal that we gave up versus Inter Milan in the last preseason game at Stamford Bridge, we allow Kovacic to just drive in the center of our midfield, gets a shot off, and Sanchez gets a glove to it, but ultimately his hands aren't strong enough, so he was unable to kind of keep it out, and it's 2-0. So, if you're being harsh, which you have to do at this level, you'd probably say that if you get a glove to it, you should be saving it. And I'd say Kovacic, I won't say, but Kovacic is definitely not a great finisher. We saw it many times at Stamford Bridge. He is capable of scoring an audacious goal when he does score, but overall he's a very poor player in front of goal, which is kind of ironic considering he started out his career as a number 10 way back at Inter Milan. So yeah, that's pretty much the game. Pretty much killed the game after that, and that's how it died. But big calls today again from Maresca. Like I said, no Sterling. His team put out a nice PR friendly statement about him not even making it. Kind of fuels speculation and kind of fuels the rumors of him potentially being shipped out before the window ends. Obviously, that salary and that wage is going to make it very difficult for Chelsea to find a move. They might have to subsidize it if it's a loan move. Juventus is definitely one of the teams sniffing around, and they can afford those kind of wages. But do they want to afford those wages for Sterling? Does Sterling want to move abroad? A lot of question marks going into that, but that was obviously a big decision. Madueke, who featured a lot in preseason, didn't play. That was a big decision. So get those out of the way. But then you look at some of the calls that he made on the field and during the match. So obviously the biggest one was playing Enzo very, very high up, kind of almost in a number 10, right? And we've seen Enzo in that role in preseason, and he doesn't look comfortable. And we saw today he didn't look comfortable. There were positions and there were times where he was in the box, and we had a couple of penalty shouts where the ball was kind of played into him, and he had horrible first touches. Especially on the one that went to VAR, got rightly overturned. But if his touch is decent, that's all it takes, is just a decent touch and not a horrible touch, right? The ball doesn't get away from him that much. Anthony Taylor maybe awards a penalty there on the spot, and we know once you award a penalty, you go to VAR. It has to be clear and obvious. So again, he was finding himself in positions that he looked uncomfortable in, and positions that as fans we don't want him in, right? We want him not with his back to goal. We want him with his facing goal, scanning, playing passes out wide, playing passes centrally, breaking lines, and doing the things that he does very well, which is generally a very good passer of the ball, right? We've seen it for Chelsea in the past. We've seen it for Argentina during their various tournament successes, Copa, World Cup, obviously. So that call was that was a big call by Maresca, and especially around the 58th minute mark when he subbed off Nkuku, which, to be honest with you, I thought he was wasted out wide left. Did not think that don't think that he's a wide player in the sense that you get the ball to him, he's going to beat a man and things like that. He can definitely beat a man in tight quarters with his quick footwork, which he did a couple times inside the box today, but just they smothered him. City did a very good job, especially Rico Lewis did a very good job defensively of just getting into like the chest of Chelsea attackers and just not allowing them to kind of free space to either play across or to get a shot off or basically just do something dangerous. So Credit to Rico Lewis. I thought he played really well today. But overall, I thought that substitution. So 58-minute mark, Maresca takes off Nkuku, puts Neto on wide left, which didn't have a problem with Neto coming on. I thought we could have used his pace. Probably a game where his pace isn't the best suited, right? You obviously would want his pace in a sort of an up and down game, counterattack, and kind of catch folks in transition. But we still needed, his quality and things like that. So it didn't have a problem with that. But I thought the player that should have come off should have been Enzo and shifted Nkuku into that kind of 10, get him playing behind Jackson, get him and Palmer kind of in that free role where, he can pop up, play a pass, play a shot, and things like that. So I thought that was thought he made a mistake in that particular regard. But it's still an early point, and he's not the first manager that struggled to get the best out of Enzo. So hopefully we'll see. I know there's a lot of talk about, especially last year with Enzo being out towards the end of the season with his hernia injury, but there were a lot of folks, especially a lot of Chelsea fans online, saying that we played better without him, with Gallagher and Caicedo in that role. And I mean, the results do tend to lean that way, but Enzo's still a player that if we want to have a successful season, we're going to need to get the best out of him. And in order for us to get the best out of him, he's got to play deeper. He's got to be one of the ones picking the ball up off of the center backs, turning, kind of dictating the pace of play, dictating the tempo and things like that. So things for the manager to figure out. Hopefully today he'll take that as a learning lesson and kind of saw. Always tough when your first match on the job is versus arguably the best team in the world and your former mentor and a lot of your former players that you helped develop in terms of Lavia and those folks and Rico Lewis on their side. I'm sorry. So very tough, kind of thrown into the fire, but that's the Premier League, right? So, a lot of positives to take away from today. I thought defensively, we didn't look all over the place like we have. Like I said, the lines and the spacing between the lines was pretty compact. Was pretty good. I thought we did a good job of sort of limiting their attacks up the middle and kind of force them out wide, which to City's credit, playing actual true wingers. Nowadays, they did a good job of exploiting that in the second half and once they swapped sides. But even offensively, even, attacking wise, moving forward, I thought we created a few good chances, right? You're not going to get a lot of opportunities with City because they're going to smother you. They're going to suppress counterattacks with tactical fouling. They're very well drilled in their system and where folks are supposed to be. Even though they were missing a couple key players today, like Rodri, Grealish, I'm trying to think of who else, just players like that. And while Foden came on in the second half, still trying to get his legs back from the Euros and kind of get back into shape. They still are, like I said, very, very well drilled side, even from their academy kids on up, right? They come up, they know where to be, they know what the manager expects of them. And they perform like a team that plays for the best manager in the world. So nothing to kind of hang your head on or your hat on in terms of, or whatever that saying is, to nothing to really be super disappointed in this result. I always thought the best possible scenario, best case scenario for us would have been a draw. But 2-0, we learned from it. We move. We've got a big game coming up Thursday, Conference League playoff, first leg versus Servette. So we'll see what the lineup looks like. That I expect a few changes, but maybe with the new manager, he will be, trying to drill and get his 22 players down that he's been talking about. So we'll see, and then after that, it's a quick turnaround as it is. As it's going to be all year, especially if we qualify for the Conference League, as crazy as that sounds. But quick turnaround Thursday, Sunday, I believe, and it's Wolves up next. So a lot of winnable games after that, winnable matches. So we'll see how we come out. See how the squad reacts from this, and hopefully some players like Jackson, some players like Palmer get some more minutes in their legs and kind of get back to some of the form that we saw at the end of last year. So got confidence in us, kind of getting some results out. And then, uh, basically just moving forward, kind of establishing our style, getting our base players, and the sort of the core group that the manager wants to work with, and take it from there, one match at a time. So we'll see. Like I said, appreciate everyone stopping by. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and then we will see you for the next one. Peace.